it's funny because I probably could have met her if well, not could have met her, but our life, it never occurs to me to find a person, and say, like you said, and say, hey, you sit in the back of my brain somewhere. It doesn't. Maybe I should think of some other people who I feel that way about.
Yes. Yes.
Um, this project is, I'm one of those people who just goes, I have something I want to do, I'm going to do it. And then when other people actually show up, for this kind of work, right? This project feels a little like I just felt like I wanted to do this because it's always made me so angry. I've said this, like I had this on recording somewhere, because we've been doing so many different interviews. So of course you have to interview the editors, right? But um, I thought Tanith was canon when I read long before I found genre community, and
Uh-huh.
I thought, of course, like for me, Tanith Lee, it was like Isaac Asimov, Harlan Ellison, Tanith Lee, Anne McCaffrey, Ursula Le Guin, like a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I didn't know what to make of it when figured out that that wasn't the case. Like I think, I feel like, and this isn't going to probably go on camera, but I feel like there's a lot of ways in which an old boys network can diminish someone without even recognizing that that's what they're doing.
That's
Um,
true.
I don't think it's consciously intended. It just comes out because of the sort of um, culture of that
Yeah.
group. And which is one of the reasons why it makes me want to say a big fuck you and just do something, to be honest.
Really.
That's the truth of it. Like I nothing gets me going more like going a little bit against the stream, I think.
Well,
Because
I think it's probably better now than it was back then because we
yeah.
have more gatekeepers. That was
Hmm.
the thing, is back then there were very few gatekeepers,
Yeah.
just a handful. If
And
you
I think,
take a look at what the year's best was 20 years ago, I think there was one or two editors editing the year's best. And if they didn't like your work, you were out of luck. But now
well, I
everyone and their
looked at,
brother has one. So,
yeah, no. And it has changed a lot, but she wasn't, canon is kind of like etched already, if you know what I mean, for like certain time periods. And it's like, damn it, no, that is canon for then. That is so canon for then.
but you see, that's the thing that Jeff and I fought against when we did our anthologies.
Mhm.
When we did the weird big book of science fiction and our modern and classic fantasy, we were going against what everyone thought was canon. If you take a look at our table of contents, you'll
Uh,
see that. Because here's the other thing. Okay. When we were doing the big book of science fiction,
mhm.
of course, one of the things that we did was we were researching everything that won all the awards, the Hugos, the Nebulas, blah, blah, blah. What we found is that oftentimes the best stories did not win the awards. We went
Yeah.
back and we looked at those stories. No, they did not pass the test of time. There were problems with many, many of them. And also the other thing is that stories that you remember that you read when you were much younger, you go back and you reread them, and you're like, no.
That's
So,
true. That's
so
absolutely
all
true.
those stories that you think are canon or just the ones and blah blah blah. So we fought against that. And so again, if you take a look at the table of contents of any of our anthologies, you're going to see a whole bunch of names you never heard of. And
Or maybe
what I
sometimes
really
I
truly
see
love,
some of them that I do know, though.
yes, of
No,
course,
I
because
mean,
some people, but the
yeah.
thing that I love is that professors teach our books in their classes,
Yeah.
and another generation is going to be introduced to these writers. And what I love is that they find a writer in one of our books that they love, and they go seek out some more of their work.
Yeah. We
And
had
so,
um one of the members of the roundtable we did in January, Melanie R. Anderson. She's an academic and also she's an academic, editor, podcaster, various things. She discovered Tanith in the weird. She'd never read Tanith. She knew nothing about Tanith and came
mhm,
across, I think it's Yellow and Red,
yes,
and
yes,
was and so and it stood out, and she was like, "Oh, who is this?" And
Right.
so it definitely it comes to fruition. Yeah, your
Yes.
intent is working. But
Yes.
it was interesting to find people who, yeah, don't know her. And then another thing, two other things that probably won't go on this, but one is that originated adult fairy tale retellings, modern ones, feminist ones for a lot of, and she
Yes.
also, I've been talking to Jeff Kennedy because she wanted to reach out to John and she didn't have his info. So she saw me doing this thing and she's like, oh, she'll know how to find him. So she reached out to me and she was explaining to me that fantasy romance considers the silver medal lover the first fantasy romance, of the
Yes.
beginning of that genre. So it's
Hmm.
not just one thing that she's seen as the originator of, it's multiple, which I find,
Yeah, but see, that particular book wasn't just fantasy romance, it was also science fiction.
oh yeah, I saw
And
it as
it was
science
also
fiction.
YA. It
Yes, all of those things.
was everything.
Yeah, for me, Tanith Lee is science fiction, to be honest. I that's mostly what I was reading back then. So the Electric Forest, Silver Metal Lover. I mean, I read a ton of short fiction, so that too. But those two books were of her novels, are the ones that I kept on my bookshelf because I am the kid who wanted to be an astronaut or a writer.
Yes. Yes.
You know? So yeah, all of that. But yeah, no, I do find it interesting that she is like seen by people within a specific group as the originator of, and yet it just sort of people are discovering through things like your anthologies rather than going, oh, it's known that.
Right.